is Inspired Coach podcast time. Welcome to you. And we have a success story for you today. And wow, what a success story this is. I am absolutely delighted to have as my guest on Inspired Coach today, the incredible Ellie Swift, to talk about her journey from pre-coaching to now coaching stratospheric success. So let me tell you a little bit more about Ellie. Ellie Swift is a business coach and a mastermind mentor for high-performing women who are ready to build soul-led, intentional, and profitable online businesses. Using her signature Swift marketing method, Ellie helps coaches, creatives, and consultants connect with their customers, shine online, and create life-changing results for both themselves and their clients across her mastermind programs. Well, Ellie is also, I am very proud and honored and loving to share with you, as some of you as listeners of this podcast will of course already know and have learned from her before. But for others of you who are maybe thinking about becoming a coach with us, something for you to be aware of is that Ellie is a part of the Beautiful You life coaching course trainer team. She is a part of Team Beautiful, and we are so delighted to have her as a part of that. In this episode, Ellie talks about her journey from being a full-time marketing professional to full-time coach and business owner, how it is that she came to work for Beautiful You, because she actually worked for us before she was even a trainer for us, and the power of the ask. If you have ever held yourself back from asking for anything in your life, you have got to listen to this story and what Ellie did to get a job with us, which obviously worked. And so that is a very powerful thing in this episode. The vision that Ellie has had for her business and her now 7+ figure coaching model, multi-million, and why Ellie loves being a trainer with us and supporting new coaches so much. This really is an extraordinary success story, and I cannot wait for you to hear Ellie ahead. And a reminder, everyone, that we only have a few days to go with our incredible bonus offers that are available right now through until September 8th this year, to join us to train to become a Beautiful You life coach and have Ellie potentially as one of your trainers. You just never know what trainer you're going to get in our course. Ellie has been a standby in so many of them for years now, and she's just incredible. She's part of our faculty as well, and so no matter what, you're going to get to learn from her in some way, shape or form. The incredible bonuses that we have on offer right now include the only time that we are going to be offering an extended 24-month payment plan, $500 off your enrollment, whether that is pay in full or off the deposit price, and a 3-month incredible, beautiful momentum builder after your course. So you get 3 months of extra support post your course, post the 9-month experience, to extend it to 12 months while you're out there trying to build your coaching business and make those coaching dreams that you have come through. We want to be right there with you the whole way, and those bonuses, I'm sure you will agree, are absolutely incredible. They are only available until September 8th this year, and so please do join us if you are even thinking about becoming a life coach with Beautiful You and becoming a part of this amazing community and developing a life and business you love as a life coach, just like Ellie has done. Then we're right here for you. You are, of course, just like Ellie, going to do it in your way. You get to hear about Ellie's way today, and then maybe into the future, you might be right here on Inspired Coach Podcast with me, talking about how you did it your way. Ellie Swift, hello and welcome to you. You're on Inspired Coach Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I can't wait to dive into this success story. And wow, what a success story you are in so many different ways and touch points as a graduate of the Beautiful You Life Coaching course. And also, not just that, but we are incredibly blessed to have you as one of our teaching and training faculty members as well. And so, everyone, keep in mind that if you have not had the joy and pleasure of being taught by Ellie in the Beautiful You Life Coaching course, that if you ever join us at some point in time in the future, she just may be right there as one of the trainers that you learn from, and you're soon about to learn why you might like that to be the case. Ellie, you've not been a coach all your life, all of your professional life, which is, of course, the norm for most people. There's not a lot of people that come into this straight out of the gate. What were you doing in your life when you first started to think to yourself, I might like to train to be a coach?
Well, to answer this, I have to speak to, that part of the question that you asked about when I first started to think about coaching, because I was one of those people who danced with the idea of it for long before I actually signed up for Beautiful You. And I think I've told you this before, it was something that I thought about for a really long time. So for me, I was working in marketing. I went to uni, came out, went into, this career that I'd always dreamt of, which was marketing. And I had the visual of I wanted to be the person, in the really high heels, tottering around the office, doing like super important things. And I went and made that dream a reality. I moved to London. I worked there for a couple of years, and that was really amazing because it really fast-tracked a lot of my growth working in an incredible agency in one of, the leading cities in the world. And then from there, I moved to Sydney and again worked in an incredible agency. But the further I climbed in that career, the more I felt like something wasn't quite right for me. I didn't necessarily feel fulfilled or inspired or like I had the meaning or the purpose that I thought that career was going to give me. And I found that especially challenging because at a surface level, there were a lot of things that it did satisfy. I love marketing. I love consumer behavior. I'm fascinated by people. That is one of the real guiding things for me in every thread that I've been through is I'm so fascinated by how humans work. But I just wasn't hitting my head to the pillow every night feeling like I was actually making a difference. And so I started following blogs and stories of women like Rachel McDonald, who is ironically now one of my dearest friends, and seeing these stories of women who were doing incredible things with their lives and they were all coaching, and every single thread led me back to Beautiful You. So I was following people like Rach and Melissa Ambrosini, and all the breadcrumbs led back to Beautiful You. And I started following your work and your coaches. And the more I did, the more inspired I felt, the more lit up I felt with, okay, that could actually be my life. Like there's actually a job where I can work with other women. For me, that was who I knew I wanted to work with, to support them and inspire them and encourage them to live, a really incredible life. And so at this point, I'm living in Sydney. I'm reading all these blogs. I moved back to Perth around that time, followed my now husband back to Perth, where I'm from, and was in like the ultimate career job, the age of 27, in a head of strategy role. Again, thinking that I was going to be ultimately, deeply fulfilled in this role. Got there, absolutely was not. And we went through a bit of a financial downturn at the time here in Western Australia. And I remember getting one of my days per week cut and with it, my salary. And you know me, Jules, I was so frustrated by that. Like I like to be in control. I like to, be in control of my life, and the idea that I was at the mercy of somebody else and my salary could be cut just like that just didn't sit well with me. So I started doing extra consulting work, quoted up a job, and I kid you not, the quote at the end of that job was the exact same figure as what it cost to study with Beautiful You. I remember showing Che, my husband, now husband, and he said, you have to do this course. So I started doing it on the side, quickly realized people wanted business as well as life coaching because of the experience that I had as a marketer. And I know we're going to talk about the rest from there, but it all kind of skyrocketed and spiraled very quickly thereafter.
Yeah, that it did. Thank you for starting us out there, Ellie. And, I think it's really fascinating, but I now understand a little bit better, and I always learn so much about, even though I know you very well, you are part of our team here at Beautiful You. Just hearing you talk about those initial stages for you, I now have a deeper understanding, because one of the questions I was going to ask you today was, for someone such as yourself that had a corporate / marketing background, which is very, very much not the feels or the vein of Beautiful You, I've always thought to myself it was a little bit surprising that you chose us to study with, and that maybe you didn't choose a more corporate or, just basically a more corporate course. But it was obviously the people that were the really inspiring thing for you that made you go, I actually really like the people, the community is what's drawing me in here.
I think also I've never identified as being a real corporate type, and knowing me as you do would know this about me. I remember a past mentor saying to me once, I just love that you're so yourself in the boardroom. And I remember thinking, is that actually a compliment? I'm going to take it as one, though, because it's very me. I do show up as myself, and I used to get myself in trouble in corporate because I would want to do things my way, and I used to get so frustrated when I came up against the status quo. And so I think I, by default, was in that corporate world, but it wasn't necessarily, that's not necessarily a way in which I aspire to be, because I do find that environment is quite stifling to our authenticity a lot of the time.
It sure can be. And it's why I think we're seeing more and more that many people do come to our course from corporate backgrounds, and they are looking, in fact, for something completely different. And sometimes when I'm talking with people who are thinking about doing the course and they tell me that that's their background, I say, no, you do realize we're not very corporate, or not corporate at all. We're a lot more heart-centered and diverse in expression, and and they went, yep. Oh, well, that's what I want. And so that's a really positive thing. So Ellie, you were an incredible trainee. And I think that is a really important thing to mention here, because we do see a direct parallel between those people who truly and deeply invest in themselves in this experience and journey, and the success that they go on to have. There is a direct line often with those kinds of things. But where you are now, it's amazing to look back and think this is not where you started when you first graduated. So when you first graduated, you still had another job and you were still working in that job. Tell us about the first 12 months out for you, because it's very different to what things look like now years down the track. But it's always great to know, what were those early days like?
So the first 8 months, I was still working in that same corporate role. And, I was head of strategy. I was doing long hours. It wasn't uncommon for me to be doing, 50, 60-hour weeks. And that was excluding the work that I was doing as a coach. I was so clear that I wanted to transition. I had no idea what it looked like, no idea. But I was so clear on this vision that I had for my life. And I used that vision to fuel me and act as the fire, the ignition for me to do the extra work that I needed to do to start my coaching business. So I was working with clients Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings, and on Saturdays, sometimes all day. I was having conversations with family about the short-term trade-offs that I needed to make this transition in my life. And I was working really, really hard. And I think that's so worth acknowledging, because if you do want to transition, and I've now coached, I would say probably 100 women through that particular season. And those that do move from their full-time corporate job into, a part-time or a different type of role to then transition full-time into their business, they're working really hard. And so that first 8 months I was in corporate. And then from there, I reached out to somebody that I know very well. And I guess we should also share this on the mic. I then started looking for a role that was outside of that corporate role that was going to support and aid me to where I wanted to move into, which was my full-time job. And I reached out to a few contacts and connections, and one of those humans was you, Jules. And from there, I had the privilege of working as socials and marketing support for Beautiful You Coaching Academy. And that role was so integral for me because it allowed me to jump out of corporate, allowed me to move into the industry that I wanted to move into, and then from there, of course, transition full-time into the coaching business. So I think that's another really key thing that is worth mentioning there, because again, so often we go, I'm going to jump straight out of my corporate role into a full-time business. And so often I see clients move into this like gap period in the middle, which is a role that again really supports them in some way, where they get to show up and be incredible in that role, but also it moves them further to what it is they're wanting to create.
Absolutely. And you know what, Ellie, there are a couple of really important things that you mentioned there that I would like to pick up on. The first one is that, yes, it seems so long ago now, but you were our social media manager here at Beautiful You for some time. And really important to let everyone know that it was Ellie who approached us about that. And through, you could say it was a coincidence, but I'm not necessarily so sure I believe in those. It just so happened at that time that it was going to be the case that in about a month to 6 weeks ahead, we knew that we were going to have a vacancy there. And so there was something energetically that was happening, that when you reached out and let us, and basically asked, do you have a role that might be going at the moment? This is what my skill set is. And it was like, well, hang on a second. Actually, we don't right now, but something is coming up. And so the first thing, the reason I want to mention that to everybody is that having the courage to ask and put yourself out there sometimes can have untold benefits, because you didn't know what kind of response you were going to get, did you?
Not at all, but it's just how I've gotten everything in life.
Wow. See, you've asked first. Okay, yes. So you don't wait.
Never.
Okay, we could probably end the interview there, right? And everybody just go away and take that bit of advice from this incredibly successful woman, is that, ask, put yourself forward. Amazing. And it just so happened. And look, what happened as a result of that is that Ellie saved us an enormous amount of time, effort, energy, and money, because we thought to ourselves, actually, that she is right for this role. We really don't need to advertise this role. This is the person that we need is right in front of us. And so there you are. And so that was really, really amazing. The other thing that I just want to pick up is what you're talking about here is the hard work. Because I know you to be someone, as is the case with, I think, the philosophy of almost everybody that comes into contact with us. You're not about the hustle. You're not about the grind. You're not about, working your fingers to the bone. But there are seasons as a business owner. Let's just get real here for a moment, because I've been in those seasons too. And I've had a season like that. that you've been to, where I was working full time and building my coaching business, the reality is that there are seasons of sacrifice, aren't there? And, even as I say that, I think to myself, oh, Julie, don't say that. It's not what people want to hear. But it's the truth.
Right. So I use the word trade-off.
Yeah?
And the way that I think about this is that we are always, for anything that we're adding, we're subtracting something or we're trading something else off. And the reason why I really love that word trade-off is because it's such a choice. It was a choice for me that I knew that I wanted to make this transition in my life, and I had to make certain trade-offs to then move into that next season. And you used that word season before, which is such an accurate word for it, because when you're decisive about it, when you've decided, you're consciously invested in, this is the thing I want, this is the vision, I know the path that I need to go on to get there, and therefore this is how I'm going to show up, and these are the trade-offs that I'm going to make. It gets to be very empowering, and it gets to be very again, empowering really is the word here, because you're choosing to be the person who is going through that transition. So I always view it as being something where it's like, this is a choice that we're making. And to have the kind of life I knew I wanted, the one that I now live, you don't get here by doing it safe or playing it the easy way. I've made a lot of trade-offs to get to this point of now creating, this insane 7-figure business that I never knew was possible for somebody like me. And I'm so glad I made all of those trade-offs, because they were all in alignment with my values, and they've all led me to where I want to be now. And really, 6-7 years later, it's so short term to have gone through that and to get to this point where I've got this incredible business that will serve me for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. And yes, seasons is the right word, because I remember those seasons way back, and there's been a couple of them in my business building, first when I first started out, first when I started this academy, for things now to be at the point where, I remember seeing clients at 8 o'clock at night and on weekends and things like that. Now I only coach between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. in the afternoon, because they're my golden hours during the day, and I get to set those. And I would, that's that I didn't have that to begin with, but I do now. And I really do believe the only reason I have that now is because of the other work I put in at that time. So Ellie, let's talk a little bit more about the business that you have now, and just immersing myself in your website today. The results and the success that you are now experiencing in your business is absolutely incredible. So you took your business to 6 figures in less than 12 months after making that leap of leaving corporate. You've now scaled to multi-6 figures, now 7 figures in under 2 years, including a $110,000 launch in your second year. And as you mentioned before, you're now getting to live this life that you once only dreamed about, and are creating for yourself and working with some incredible and amazing coaches from all around the world. And you've taken all of your skills and values and put them and infused them into this business of yours to make that happen. If you look back over the last few years, what are some of the things that you can attribute to the success that you're now experiencing that might come as a bit of a surprise to some people? Like, obviously there's been a lot of hard work involved. You've mentioned that. But tell us a little bit about some of the things that you think to yourself, people might not necessarily know, but when you think about it, have been a big factor in your success.
What a great question. How do I want to answer this? Because normally, if you shared the things that if you didn't share that part about things that people might not know, I would go ahead and share with you something related to mindset, something related to marketing, and something related to strategy, which are the three pillars that I believe create, these incredible coaching businesses. And, those are definitely key factors. Okay, when I think about things that people don't know, all right, so something that I think is really important, especially in those early years, is you are going to succeed far faster if you bring your people on the journey with you. So what I mean by that, something that I think I've done really well is I've brought my loved ones with me. I've shared my vision with them, and I've given them the opportunity to support me because I've articulated where I want to go. A lot of people feel really unsupported when they're building their businesses, especially in those early years. I mean, we see it so much in the academy that people share. They're going through these huge transitions and huge personal development journeys, and it can feel quite isolating. And so I made a really clear point to bring my people along for the ride. So again, my now husband, my family, my friends, and in doing so, it helped me create the success that I wanted to create because they were coming on that journey with me. So that's definitely something that supported me. The second thing that I would say is I've aimed really high in my work, and I've given myself this permission to dream really big. That I think at every turn I've given myself this opportunity to go, you know what, I actually can set my goals even higher here. I actually can shoot further. I actually can create more than the examples that I believe to be possible based on, my lineage or what I've seen in the world around me, or the privileges that I've believed I can create based on, my upbringing. I've really allowed myself to dream far bigger than that. And I think that has really supported me to create the success that I have, because I've allowed myself to go, well, what does it actually look like to dream more than a six-figure business? My first goal was to create a six-figure business. And then I realized that actually I could do a multi-six-figure business and a seven-figure business. And, not everything is about financials, but I'm using those as clear metrics for me, that represented that I could create more impact and I could dream something even bigger. And then I would say, I love sharing things in threes. If I was to think of a third thing here, it's that I've allowed myself to continue to further my work at every stage. So I've never sat and rested in, okay, I'm done here. I've got my one-to-one, or I've got my group program, or I've got my thing, and I'm good. I've really allowed myself to continue playing in expansion, continue playing in learning, continue playing in so much growth at every stage. And that's definitely something that's supported me to thrive so much. So you know me well. Feel free to add any things that you think that people don't know, but they'd be a top three for sure. What have I missed?
Well, I think those things are fantastic. I mean, there's so much more. I mean, as somebody that does know you and has been privileged to witness, you from trainee through to this incredible businesswoman, entrepreneur, coach that you are, I would also say, and this is not necessarily a secret or a surprise, but you show up. There is consistency is something that means different things to different people, and that's the irony of that word in so many ways. You think about the word consistency and you think it means the same thing over and over again at the same time or whatever it is. And that's just not the case. Consistency can be nuanced as well. But one of the things that I think you do extraordinarily well is that you show up. You're very visible online. And I think that is something that people relate to and want a lot more than they necessarily realize.
Yes.
And one of the things that I know that you know as a marketing professional is that people have to see you, feel you, hear you, be connected to you over and over and over and over again, and then probably over again before they will necessarily make a choice to even step closer to you and sign up for something, let alone actually give you money and work with you.
Yes, 100%.
You know, you do not set and forget. You're not one of, you know, and anybody that thinks they can do that, it's just really, I don't think that that's possible. I think you have to show up. It's part of the experience here.
Definitely.
Ellie, you are also have been a trainer with us for many years. What has it been like for you to essentially give back to this industry as a trainer?
Oh, I love it so much. I mean, you know, I knew there would be a point in the episode where I'd get to speak to this, but I hope that for those of you listening, you will have heard that my life transitioned and changed so much when I started studying with Beautiful You. And so to go through that process and to then have almost like a life 180, to be able to now be part of supporting that process for other people is so huge to me. It's very authentic and real and earnest for me to sit across from these incredible humans and speak to them about the massive transition and opportunity that is about to take place for them and is taking place for them when they're studying with Beautiful You, and to get to witness, you know, the direction that they get to go in. It's incredible. I really love seeing the depth of the journey that people go on. And obviously with my marketing hat on, I love then seeing the businesses that come to life. I have the great privilege of getting to work with many people in the Beautiful You community that, of course, choose me as a coach as well. And being able to support them in that way is massive and something that I never take for granted, to be such a big part of this community. And so I love it in so many ways. It just feels like such a gift.
Well, we're so blessed to have you and your expertise on our teaching team. Really, I truly, truly mean that. And I know that you know that I do.
I do.
Ellie, I've just got 2 more questions for you. Could you please just tell us a little bit about where is your business now? I feel like in many ways we almost need to get you back for another episode at some point in time in the future where you can tell us all about the actual model of your business, because that's a whole episode in and of itself, because it's not your usual, in inverted commas, model that many coaches have. It's a very specific model that you've developed and way of working. But what's exciting you most about your work right now in 2023 leading into 2024?
Oh my goodness. I could answer that in about an hour or 2, so I'll keep it brief. So you mentioned before, you spoke to me being a business owner and entrepreneur, and I'm grateful for you sharing that, because I definitely do identify as somebody who came into this work as a coach, and a marketer, but a lot of my love for my work is that I really identify as being somebody who loves business, loves entrepreneurship, thrives in business. I'm really good at it. And I have created an incredible model that has grown and morphed because of the requests of my clients over the years. So I have something called a mastermind model. So I run 3 mastermind programs for people at different stages of their business who have different financial goals, obviously being at those different stages. And the reason why I set it up in that way is because when you're in different stages, you need to move through different things to be able to grow to that next level, if that's your desire. So I support people who are coaches, creatives, and consultants to build these sustainable, profitable, incredible businesses through these mastermind programs. So I started out with one about 3 years ago. And then when everyone came to the end of that experience, I created the next level up based off demand. And then a few years back, I realized there was a piece missing in the middle. And so I added that in. And I love it because it's small group coaching. I still get to mentor at a really deep level, which I believe is where the most powerful, impactful change comes from. But I get to do it in a way that is also impactful because I'm still working with a number, up to 100 women throughout the year in that program. And then I, of course, pepper in courses and programs outside of that as well. But the main heart of my business is this mastermind model. And then in terms of what's got me excited about my business, I recently launched the mastermind model, which is putting this model out into the world and really owning that. For a while there, I was wondering why there was a program that didn't exist about masterminds in this way, and then realized almost like a knock to the head that it was because I needed to be the person that created the program. Because of course It's something that I've created and I think, done incredibly well. Again, through, conversations with my clients, which is how I iterate and create anything in business. And I'm really excited about continuing that. I have no plans to change my model. It's just, it works so well for me and for my team. I'm excited to continue growing that and then adding on more evergreen offers as well, and playing a little bit more in ways that I can create more opportunities for people to work with me at any time. My masterminds are quite hard to get into, so I want to create some more accessible offers for people at different stages, including those in earlier stages of business. So yeah, that's what I'm most excited about. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ellie. In wrapping up today, if you could just impart some divine Ellie wisdom to anybody that is listening to this episode and is maybe thinking about becoming a coach, or they're in their early stages of being one and thinking, okay, I want to create my own version of success like Ellie has, what would you love to share with them?
All right, this is where I am going to share the mindset, strategy, and marketing pieces that I just believe to be so key. So the first thing is you need to trust yourself in this journey, which looks like anchoring into the mindset from day one that you are a coach, you are a business owner, and you get to trust yourself on this path. So really, really holding firm in that mindset, even when all the fears come up, is going to be so key as you embark on this journey. The second one is to be strategic in your approach. And what I mean by that is to be really clear on the way in which you're going to move forward in your business, which oftentimes comes through working with a business coach to create a strategy that works for you. One of the biggest reasons or ways in which I see early coaches get really overwhelmed is because of the vast amount of information that we have about how you can build a successful coaching business. Many of it being true and incredible, but a lot of it conflicting. Choose your mentors, choose your approach, stick to it, go all in. And the third is something you spoke to before, Jules, which is around that visibility piece. Get visible, put yourself out there, even when it scares you, and show up and show up and show up again, imperfectly, on repeat, knowing that as you do, you'll start to build a community that you are then going to get to sell your incredible offers to. You need those people to build your business.
You sure do. Ellie Swift, what a divine human being you are. We are so blessed to have you as both alumni and part of our training team here at Beautiful You. Thank you so much for sharing all of your beautiful insights and wisdoms in business with us today.
Thank you for having me. I've loved this chat as always.
Everyone, if you would like to learn more about Ellie's incredible business and her offerings and all of the amazing things that she's doing in the coaching world, please go to the podcast section of our website. And Ellie is most definitely somebody that I really recommend that you follow on social media so you can really feel into her world and the way that you see her show up online. It's always very real, genuine, authentic, amazing, and it has a pulse and a rhythm and a consistency that can be so inspiring when thinking about building your own coaching business.